mate.
All right, so I'm Jack. I'm the son of a woodcutter. We've been in business for about 5 years. I started the business because we needed a coffee table for an apartment that we'd just moved into. It all kind of started from there really, built one and then two and then 10 and 20, and we've been going for 5 years. So the build process begins once the client has agreed on a design and a particular species. So we'd pull the two slabs down and ensure that the client likes them both. And then the first process is lining up the grains to get the grains matched correctly. Most of our tabletops that we build are buck matched. So that's one particular log that's been milled that way and then folded out. So you can see the grains and any sort of characteristics in that wood will be an exact replica on each side of the table. The part of this whole process that I enjoy the most is taking the bark off the side of the log. This right here is a draw knife that my father gave to me about 2 years ago. Haven't sharpened it since, and we use it every single day. It's just a fantastic tool for tearing the bark off the side of the log. I've seen videos online of guys like really struggling with a hammer and a chisel or like any other sharp implements that you can find, but this here was built in Sheffield probably about 50 to 100 years ago. It's really good quality steel, and as I said, it's been sharpened once and it's still razor sharp. The build process begins with, once the wood's been kiln dried, that gets rid of all of the bugs and takes all of the moisture out of the material. Once it's been dried, it's quite often sort of warped or twisted slightly. We try and avoid that as much as we can during the drying process, but the wood will do whatever it wants to. So then it will be flattened in a planer. The planer is about 20 inches wide. It's fed in on one side, which will flatten it perfectly, and then you flip it over and you pass it through a good sort of 3 or 4 times, and then it will flatten both sides perfectly. And then, and only then, can you get a perfect joint. So yeah, so once it's been planed, it would then have to be fed through the jointer, which will ensure that there's 2 square sides which you can join to. That will eradicate any chances of it sort of splitting or any air gaps when you push the 2 boards together. And then we'll join those 2 slabs with a tenon. And there's probably over a 6-foot table, you'll have maybe a tenon every 10 or 12 inches across the whole length. It's then glued and then clamped overnight with a really slow set glue. Most of the wood that comes in is probably aged between 80 to 100 years old. We've got some really big stuff that can often be sort of 200 to 250 years old. We don't cut trees down for the sake of cutting them. They've always come down for a particular reason, whether they're part of a development project or whether there was a rot on the tree or whether it's hit by lightning or any of these other issues. But we certainly wouldn't head out in the country and just start chopping trees down. Our wood is sourced from all over Ontario. There's a few connections that I've built up over the years, and unfortunately that's definitely not something that I'd like to share.